Okay, my friends, this is going to be a lot of fun. I've been following this thing since 2014 when they first went up there. This is the Curiosity mission to Mars, and they reported back what they found, and I understand precisely what they found. Curiosity's mission is to determine whether the red planet Mars ever was habitable to microbial life. Well, I don't care about microbial life. I'll show you the life that they did find. The rover, about the size of a Mini Cooper, equipped with 17 cameras and a robotic arm containing a suite of specialized laboratory-like tools and instruments. And they found life, and I will show you the life they found. Okay, I'm doing this down here because I can't pick that thing up. One of my arms is bad. This right here is some form of a socket, like maybe in the hip or whatnot. This is the tendon that attaches to the ball. The only reason I'm showing you down here, I'm going to show you from here down in the computer. I have pictures of it, which we can see very close. But I wanted you to see that's where everything attached to. And what happens is you have a bone or your shoulder, your hip or wherever, and then you have to be able to pull your arm and your leg or whatever. There's a tendon. The tendon is just a little bit different than a muscle. The tendon has a really tough fiber strappiness to it. And then you get into the muscular muscle, which has what they call sarcomeres. This is a pretty tough strap. Very, very little give. This is quite givey. And it happens in little segments, which I'm going to show you uno momento. Okay, so here is that same stone. Now, that round section is up here. That's why I had to show you down there. But now we can see here very easily. Now, what happens is, as I said, you have the bone emplacement, then you have a piece of tendon that attaches to a piece of muscle. You see this is red? This is not red. This doesn't have to be red because it doesn't have to be flush with blood like this is. This is strappy as hell, and there's very little blood. Now, you see up here, all the red stuff is blood. You see that? That's literally an artery. That feeds all of this red blood in here. There's another one here, another one here, another one down here, and they wash blood down in to feed the muscle. Muscle needs blood, and it's a sarcomere, and I'm going to show you that in the anatomical in a second, and how the tendon attaches, and so forth. This is a piece of bone, which is a bone ball up here, tendon to muscle. It's just the way it works. This was the outside layer, which is the skin layer. Very, very raspy, sandy. Inside is a different texture, as you could see, or you would see very obviously if I had to put it on a bench. But trust me, it's just like a sandpaper on the outside. Now you see that right there? That's a sarcomere. All right, those are sarcomeres. They are so tiny that to see this is probably magnified at least 10,000 times. So you don't ever see these. Nobody ever sees these. These here are the muscle bands. And when they pull together, they come like this. You see? They start out wide like that, and then they start to pull in, and then when they're fully engaged, they're all the way together. So that gives you this much of a pull, and you got a bazillion of them inside your muscle. Well, let me show you what's up on Mars. Don't forget, remember these cuts between them. These are cuts. I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to show you Mars, and then I'm going to show you Petra. Now, the reason they call it the red planet, because all of this is red, literally blood, and it's eroded from the connective tissues and so forth. This is right here. It's called the Mars crab. This is it right here. That is an artery. And these little legs that stick out are blood vessels. And they pump blood into the tissues. Now, the one I had showed you in my shop is exactly the same thing. That red blood coming out of it. This is red also, as is all this stuff. This is not red because this is the connective tissue. These are the sarcomeres. Remember the cuts in them? Remember the breaks in the sarcomeres? There it is right there. These are the pinchers. It needs a lot of red blood. That's the Mars crab. And I believe that is the vein right there, right above, that brings the blood back up. This punches the blood down and pushes it into all of the tissues. At the very end, it turns around and comes back up the vein. That's it right there, and that's on Mars. Now, I studied this 7 years ago when they first went up there. I was on every single bit of this, and they were wide open with their research, and I was wide open with mine. And I showed these, and it was very pushed back against, and I was pushed into a corner that I was a crazy person. Now, this is the other thing. This is Mars Morse Code. They don't understand what's going on here. What is this all about? I can tell you exactly what it is. That is skin. That is literally interstitium, is skin, mucosa. I will show you in a second. We have it here on Earth. Same thing, gigantic. This is pinched together skin. This is pinched together. This is stretched skin. Skin has these balls and straps. And when they're all uniform, you get stuff like this, and everybody's back to where they're supposed to be. But you could stretch, you can pull this way, pull that way. But these will pull you back. Well, not when you're dead. When you're dead and you're eroded from being Mars, as far as I'm concerned, Mars must have had a lot of moisture at one time. Probably very similar to Earth. And it appears from what Velikovsky said, it was impacted by Venus, or damn near, and so were we. We had a great deluge. They had a great disaster and ended the life of Mars as it was known. But there was the same creatures were there as here. Remember this stuff. I'm going to show you this on Earth right here. Remember these balls being separated from these straps. I'm telling you, everything is just gigantic biology, and that is a fact. Now, this is the mucosa, which is the skin layer. This is that floppy layer that had all those balls and straps, and it was called the Mars Morse Code. Remember the balls, remember the straps. I say this can pull this way and that way and this way and that way. That's what it's designed to do. And it's also a fluid-filled highway, but once it dries out, you end up with all this red stuff, which is very, very fine. And then you have these tough little straps, and then you have the ball, which is the anchor. Let's see if we can see that on Earth. Ooh, guess what? We can. Right there. I think this is Huntston Beach in the United Kingdom. I'm not certain of that. These are the balls that were embedded in the wall, the balls in the wall. This is the mucosa, which is the skin in this case, I believe, because this is real floppy skin. And then this is mud. This turns into mud. See, the red mud, red clay. Anywhere you see red, it was from blood. And it's from the red side of the blood. All right? These are the balls that were the anchors. So at one time, this creature could stretch this way and this way and that way. Just think of it. I mean, it's just beyond belief. That's why I was put in this box. I can't get out. All right, probably most everybody knows about Petra carved into these walls. That's what's inside. That's flesh. And all that white stuff is the connective tissue. So that's somewhere close to a tendon. You see that? That's over in Petra too. This is connective tissue. This is a really strappy area in the body. I don't know what part of the body is. But when you see the face of Petra, you're going to see those sarcomeres. I showed you the sarcomeres in the anatomical, the ones on Mars. These are exactly the same. These are the straps in between the sarcomeres. There's the one that pulls in, and of course it's dead, so they're not together. And these are the ones that pull into these. And there's a block. These are blocks. Now they're all chewed up down here, but you can see them. See the block, the block, the block, the block, the block. All right. What's inside of Petra? Well, this is a nice reddish face. I mean, but you can see there's all they actually had to chop all these little holes in here to let it dry out. This must have been done when it was, semi-wet. And you can see at the bottom here, you see this and this and this and this and this. That's part of the anatomical layering. Now let's go take a look inside. Okay, this is inside Petra, and here it is right here. This is all connective tissue. This is muscles and so forth. This is the blood vessels that feed it. And there it is, and that's inside Petra. So I think that wraps it up. Okay, I think I just figured out something I've missed. You see all these little holes in here? I believe that is an artery, and that is an artery, and they poked all these holes in to let the air run up through the artery, or let the water run out of the artery, or the blood, or whatever. And I believe this is literally solid blood. I showed you my specimen I have here, and the arteries running out. There was 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row. If you twisted it up this way, there'd be 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row. And it is a solid blood on mine. Let me show you one more time. All right, this would be semi the orientation of Petra. And in this area, this is just solid red blood. Absolutely 100% solid red blood. Now, it's of course eroded out of here, but there's one of the arteries right there. Now, whether that artery ran up and they poked holes through it, I don't know. But these are where the sarcomeres are. You're never going to see them in here, but they do lay this way. That means they can pinch this way. And this is muscle. So it was up in here. Tendon is down below, must be down below in the earth. All right, and somewhere they use one of these really, really red bloody spots. But inside, you're still going to have some of this. And this is the stuff you saw it everywhere. This is no mystery here. And you're never going to see the sarcomeres until you get down into the electron microscope range, which I showed you. So think of how big this creature had to be. It's all over Earth. As far as I can determine, there is nothing that is not biological. Even the comets, Comet 67P, 100%, no question whatsoever. Oumuamua is a finger, and that I can stand behind. Nobody can say it isn't. It's a red comet that is absolutely identical anatomically. And I've had anatomists look at that and say, yes, absolutely, it's exactly what you would expect if it was a finger. But they can't obviously say it's a finger. Now, what is this? This is the same muscle. This is just like we saw up on Mars, and I showed you the one in my shop. This is the connective tissues. It's eroding away the red stuff just like it did on Mars. But Mars is a different story. It's a dusty place. It's not like here, a watery place. It's eroding from sandblasting, basically. Ours is eroding from running off. You see that? And this is up here. There's a layer that's running out as it comes down that layer, which is the black blood, which is the vein blood. This is the artery blood. And up here, so back here, it's probably got some connection that was a lot less red, because this is all running off, and eventually you'll end up with the same little sarcomeres like they have on Mars. They'll be big little open spots. Now you see that right there? That's not millions of years in one picture. This is 1 second in one picture. This guy died and that was it. He laid over flat. This is literally the skin. Then you start to get into the layers of membranes and tissues that get before you get to your basement layer where your organs and so forth are below that. These creatures were absolutely stunningly large. And this has just eroded away and left one of the, you see this? That's not erosion and sedimentation. They have it so far wrong, and they refuse to engage because it changes literally everything. So this is what I want to talk with Jim and David and all the other people, and we want some more geologists and experts to come out to explain what they see and why what I'm saying is wrong. You see that? I think they call that rhodonite. That's nothing more than sarcomeres. They find them in huge piles, obviously, because the muscles right there. Now, that had to petrify in an area where the pH, the temperature, the minerals and metals were of the exact being able to flow in and out, because this is how they do what's called nucleophilic substitution. The organic material that would have normally rotted and you wouldn't expect it to preserve, it finds a partner to attach to become stable. That's what happened. Then it dried out. But it has to be in the right conditions. Opals are the same way. So is agate. See that? These are those bundles of rhodonite or whatever they call it. But these are sarcomeres. And they pinch in and out. That's what they do. All right, this is a full-scale understanding of what you're looking at. This is the interstitium, really. That's the like a mucosa layer. Below that is your muscles. Now, this is called striated muscle. This is a picture right here. Blown up, it looks like this. So these little blocks are now looking like this. Make it even bigger, we can actually see the bands and the actual breaks between the blocks. Precisely what I showed you on Mars. But you got to get down into this. This is into the extreme electron microscope range. You don't see that. You don't look at your muscles and see that normally. Okay, I think I made my case. You don't have to be an expert to understand what you're seeing here. I showed you the sarcomeres and how all the connective tissue runs between and all the red blood runs out and turns into dust. Mars has no real lakes and so forth like we have here, oceans, so it turns into a sandblaster, literally, where I showed you the interstitium is so finely sandblasted it just looks unreal, but it's huge and it is from some kind of skin. And that is the artery. These are the crab legs, which are nothing more than blood vessels that feed all of these red-blooded areas, which is where the muscles are. And don't forget, having the understanding and the knowledge that I have about the preservation of soft tissues and what body parts look like when they're enormous, I fully understand what's going on up here. And what were the two main objectives of Mars Curiosity mission? Is to establish by Mars exploration program. The main scientific goals are to help determine whether Mars could ever have supported life, well, that's a given, as well as determining the role of water and to study the climate and geology of Mars. I have studied it from what they have shown. You can't do much more than what they're showing. And I understand what they're showing, and nobody else does, because nobody's mind is big enough, open, wide enough to take it in. Especially the people that we've put in charge of trying to figure this out. I've been showing this for 7 years. This is not the first day on the job. So it's time that I get all of these other mainstream people to say, no, Roger, you're wrong, or let's talk about, well, all I want to do is talk about it. And then if they say I'm wrong, well, maybe I am wrong. I don't think so. Okay, as I was mentioning in my last video, we're taking a new track here at Mudfossil University. We're going to really create a full-scale university. And we've got a skeleton crew right now of people that are starting to come on board that have credentials. All right? They have mainstream credentials. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean we're going to teach everybody what the mainstream says? Absolutely not. We are going to teach you what the mainstream says, but we are going to teach you why it's not correct. All right? If you can come up with facts and figures to say, no, Roger, you're wrong, let's get it on. But if you can't, then you're going to have to start to accept reality. Now, let's just start with Mars. And I have a geologist now who was with the Corps of Army Engineers, and he ended up being a senior environmentalist with the Army Corps of Engineers in remediation of problems with the Earth, and because he understood the layering of the Earth and how it stabilizes and how it becomes weak and all of that stuff. I mean, that's what it is. He's a geologist, and he's a big shot geologist too. In my mind he is, I don't know. But when you work for the Corps of Army Engineers and they rely on you as like a subcontractor to say, can we build a building here? Can we build a bridge over here? Can we build a dam over here? Well, I'd say that's a pretty hot stuff guy. Now, a lot of people don't want to get involved in saying, oh, this is this or this is that. That's why this guy's name is Jim Bolin, and I will be speaking with Jim, not like adversaries or anything. He's trained classically. I am too. I know all the stuff he knows, and he knows that I know the stuff he knows. But now he's going to have to talk to me about the stuff that I know. And he's come around. I mean, we've had some pretty good discussions, and he's pretty much on board right now. He says, I got to really unlearn all the things I learned. He said, but, all this stuff you said makes sense. Even the way the waters flow through the soils. I said, all you're looking at is membranes. All they are is membranes in the soils. He says, you're right. He said, we found out that some water runs straight down, up against a wall, basically. And other water lays flat and it won't go through. That's what a membrane does. A membrane separates one layer from another layer. That's what a membrane does. If the membrane's laying flat like this, it collects on there, especially oils and things like that. And that's what he was doing, remediating these kind of issues. And then they said they found other areas where the membranes were laying like this. I mean, they didn't realize it, but they were. So it just flowed right down the membrane. They called it a fluid-filled highway. That's what these membranes are. And he says, you're right. I'll let him talk if I can get a hold of him and get him on here with us. But I may not. Some of these guys are pretty actively occupied, so I'm going to catch him when I can. That's all. And sooner or later, we'll get something going here where it's a regular, almost daily, I hope for a daily discussion. At least that Jim and I and David and some of the other people, we have Pedro and so forth, Tyson, we can all get together, or one-on-one with me about what I claim, what they claim, what mainstream claims. We need to get this in a discussion format. This is crazy. I keep doing over and over and over and over and over, and I have the same people keep coming back. Oh, this is great, but it doesn't get spread anywhere. And I know why, but I have no control over that. I've been put in a box, and I can't get out. It's called an algorithm.